my name is Seán Ahern. This is Group 9's Week 1 Mobile Robotics presentation on our progress so far. To start with, we met up at 9 AM on Tuesday the 14th. We introduced ourselves and had a quick introductory meeting where we discussed what our strengths and weaknesses were and then determined where we'd best be utilised for each part of the project. We then each took an initial objective and began working independently. Alex and Elias set up a GitHub repository, Emma began building the actual Mobot itself, and I set up the project management software. I ended up choosing a software called Notion. I had a couple criteria for my choice. I wanted something that was free, something that was available online, easy to access for everybody, and something that would keep track of our tasks, who they were assigned to, and what the due dates and stuff were, and then how long those tasks would take. Notion does also provide options for file sharing. However, we already had set up a Google Drive and obviously the GitHub to store all of that, but it was nice to have a backup here availability. Notion's tasks also let us add descriptions for them, so when we assign them to each other, there was a quick repository of descriptions and what we needed to do and little checkpoints for each of us when we were signing stuff out. It's pretty handy software to get everything sorted and compiled together so we can keep track of everything. In the initial plan that we made while we were discussing, we broke down the weekly recommended tasks that we were provided at the start into little subtasks that we then put up on Notion and assigned them to each individual person based off of where our strengths lied and who was available for each task. This allowed us to run as many tasks simultaneously as possible. In terms of allocations of roles, when we were discussing it, we decided to not have strict roles to allow us to make decisions democratically, with the exception of a team lead, which was chosen to be myself, whose role is primarily to mediate disagreements as they occur and to keep track of people's progress to make sure everyone's running smoothly and no one's having any issues. This system was decided upon in this meeting, and then once Emma had finished constructing the Mobot, she drafted up a team contract to finalise these decisions there. The primary purpose of the contract is to outline decision making and to kind of give a course for how to mediate disagreements and how they will be resolved. It also outlines that in the case of a severe breach of the conditions, the team member will forfeit a percentage of their marks by a way of explicit exclusion of their name in the description of one of the project submissions. The conditions for working on the team are as follows, that we drafted up in our thing. Team members must provide any notice for any absences from scheduled lab time and provide reasoning where appropriate. Once a team member agrees to complete a task, it is expected that the task is completed within a reasonable time frame and to an acceptable standard. Team cooperation, collaboration, communication must remain a priority for all team members throughout the project. There should never be a situation where a team member feels like they cannot communicate with the team and put forward their unique ideas or feel as though they can not ask fellow team members for help and support. It's the project leader's goal to kind of make sure that that environment stays secure throughout the entirety of the project. If a team member suddenly becomes unable to complete a task they have claimed as their responsibility, they must immediately notify the rest of the team so the task may be completed on their behalf, or we can fill in and help and support them. At no point should any team member be left out of any decision. We should always inform team members who even may be absent. So each team member's input and perspective must be taken into account when any changes are being made. In the case of a disagreement, team members have an elected team lead, myself, who they trust to mediate and, if needs be, make final decision when one cannot be reached within the team. As mentioned in the introduction, Alex and Elias created a GitHub repository to store all of the code for our Mobot. GitHub is a great way to store and share code across devices, so we can work on our own devices and then upload it to the ESP32 or across one another to make edits across ourselves. While mostly following the task objectives, we did run into a couple of decisions we had to make as a team this week. Primarily deciding on what to go for a design innovation. It was mentioned in the introductory lecture on Monday that what the Mobot was akin to a taxi. So we decided to go all in on the taxi idea with the style of a New York taxi with like the yellow cabs. I designed a taxi in SolidWorks, which will hopefully be able to 3D print. We're going to have working headlights, indicators, brake lights, and a taxi in use sign, as well as engine noises. And in order to make it a bit more unique and interesting, we wanted to get 2 of the OLED screens that were available to us and animate some eyes similar to the Cars movies to give it some more personality and some more style when it's moving around. We also had to pick out how we were going to deal with checkpoint navigation, which we did towards the end of the week, so we hadn't fully finalized everything. We still need to do a lot of testing, but we decided to go with a checkpoint map system. We programmed the robot on how to get to each of the adjacent checkpoints from the current one, and then build it out from there. When it gets to junctions, we turn the junctions into checkpoints so that every checkpoint only has 2 links to it. So we can string them together to make a little route as we go. This takes the obstacles into account, as the robot can simply turn around until the next point and then follow an alternative route as it's already laid back to where it was. Throughout this week we did run into a couple problems. When we were sorting out the Wi-Fi passwords for our ESP32s, both of the passwords were the same. This was an error that cropped up when we were attempting to connect the board to the internet, where the password was incorrect. So we ended up troubleshooting to figure out which board it was, and then I went to go ask Robert, and he replaced one of the boards for us, and we were able to get the new password from the MAC address, and we were able to sort it out. And we also had an issue getting the robot to follow lines accurately and make sharp turns. Elias fixed this by kind of using all of the sensors to figure out the thing and to improve their kind of accuracy to get a better reading. And then turning the speed down on the motors helped with making bigger turns. So we were able to kind of sort out that situation. Overall, we achieved quite a lot this week. We constructed the robot platform. We set up the primary driving and sensor circuit. We have a GitHub, Google Drive, and Notion all set up and ready to go. And we've got stuff already in there and set up. We've got our team contract signed. We have a start on our design information. We have part of the 3D model, and we have kind of ideas for it. We have our robot moving forward and backwards, and also following a line around a circuit now. And we finally have all of our boards connected up to Wi-Fi with the server. For next week, we're primarily going to be working on getting the car to recognize checkpoints and then programming the routes from each checkpoint to the other. We're going to keep up going on the design innovation, finalize the design of what we want, and kind of pick out the parts that we need moving and working, and start trying to get our hands on those 2 OLED screens. And if we have the time, we want to start working on getting the server to give the command to the robot and have the robot be able to follow it. That concludes week 1's presentation on kind of what we did. It's a little catch up on how we've done and how everything is going for us. We're doing great. We've got loads of stuff done. All of week 1's tasks completed, and a good chunk, if not all, of week 2's. So we're getting moving. We've got the ball rolling, and we're making great progress to keep going forward. Yeah, thank you very much for watching.
Okay, we got car moving, got things set up, we did our team contract, then the next week we each get reported to our own